When most people start trading with $100, their mind instantly shifts into get-rich-quick mode. They imagine doubling their account in a week, maybe hitting $1,000 in a month, and before long, they're dreaming of quitting their job. This mindset is the exact reason most fail. Turning $100 into $1 million is not about speed. It is about the ability to think in decades, not days. The mindset that makes this possible is called the compounding mindset, the belief that slow, consistent, and strategic growth beats fast, reckless gains every single time. The compounding mindset is rooted in patience, discipline, and long-term vision. It's not glamorous at first. It doesn't give you the adrenaline rush of placing huge bets and watching your account swing wildly. But it's the same mindset that built fortunes in every industry, from Warren Buffett in investing to Jesse Livermore in trading. This is the thinking pattern that forces you to protect your capital, grow it steadily, and never sabotage your own progress. The average trader sees $100 as nothing, something they can afford to lose. The millionaire trader sees $100 as a seed. You don't eat the seed. You plant it, water it, and protect it. If you're constantly digging it up to see if it's growing faster, you'll destroy it. In trading, this means resisting the urge to overtrade, to risk too much, or to jump into random setups because you're bored. The $100 account demands respect, because how you treat the small amount is exactly how you'll treat the big one. Consider this. If you can grow your account by just 5% per week, that's not exciting in the short term. On $100, that's only $5 in profit. Most traders would laugh at that. But over time, the math becomes shocking. At 5% weekly growth, $100 becomes about $10,000 in less than 5 years. And if you can keep the same mindset with bigger capital, the numbers explode into hundreds of thousands and eventually millions. The principle is simple. Growth multiplied over time creates results that seem impossible at first. The problem is, most traders fail to think this way. They want to take their $100 and risk 50% on a single trade, because if they win, they're instantly up $50. What they don't see is that if they lose twice in a row, their account is nearly gone, and their emotions are destroyed. This is where the compounding mindset separates the winners from the losers. Millionaire traders never measure success by one trade or 1 week. They measure it by a series of disciplined actions over months and years. Take the example of Richard Dennis, the famous commodities trader. In the 1972nd, he started with a small amount around $1,600 and turned it into hundreds of millions over the next decade. He didn't do it by gambling. He did it by applying consistent, repeatable rules to every trade and letting time do the heavy lifting. The story isn't about luck, it's about disciplined patience. That's the mindset you need, even if you're starting with less than 1% of what Dennis had. Compounding mindset also forces you to view losses differently. Most traders panic when they lose money because they see it as a setback. But a trader with this mindset knows losses are part of the game, and they're calculated into the plan. If you lose 2% of your account today but you stick to your strategy, you can make it back over time without taking excessive risk. This emotional stability is critical. If you let one bad trade push you into revenge trading, you've already lost the mental game. Now, let's talk about emotional energy. Trading isn't just about charts. It's about your mental state when making decisions. If you're chasing quick money, you're in a constant state of anxiety. Every small market movement feels like a life or death situation. You can't think clearly. The compounding mindset eliminates this by removing the pressure to get rich right now. It shifts your focus to make the right move consistently. This not only makes trading less stressful, it also improves decision-making quality. A common mistake new traders make is comparing themselves to others. They see someone on social media flipping $500 into $5,000 in a week and feel like they're doing something wrong. What they don't see is that those traders are often taking massive risks, and many of them blow up their accounts soon after. The compounding mindset ignores the noise. It's about building your own journey, at your own pace, with rules you can stick to no matter what the market does. For example, imagine you have $100 and your goal is to make 3 to 5% per week. You have a solid strategy that gives you 2 to 3 high-quality trades per week, each with a 1 to 2 risk-to-reward ratio. You risk 2% of your account per trade. So on $100, that's $2. If you win, you make $4. This seems small, but after a few months of consistency, your account begins to grow. At $500, you're making $10 per win. At $5,000, you're making $100 per win. The process is the same, only the zeros change. This is the core principle that turns small accounts into large ones without blowing up in the process. There's another hidden benefit to starting small with this mindset. It forces you to master the skill of risk control before you have big money on the line. Too many traders get a sudden influx of capital, maybe from savings or a prop firm, and blow it in weeks because they never learned how to handle small amounts properly. By respecting your $100, you're training yourself to respect $100,000. It's the same game, just a bigger scoreboard. You also need to understand that the compounding mindset is not passive. It doesn't mean you sit back and hope your account magically grows. It means you are actively refining your strategy, learning from mistakes, and adjusting to market conditions, but always within the framework of controlled risk. You're not trying to hit home runs. You're trying to get on base every day, and over time, those base hits add up to a championship season. Some traders resist this approach because it feels slow, but ask yourself, what's better? Spending 6 months chasing quick wins, blowing up multiple accounts, and ending up back at zero, or spending those same 6 months building a track record of consistent growth so that when bigger capital comes, when you're ready? One path gives you quick dopamine hits and long-term frustration. The other gives you discipline, confidence, and the potential for real wealth. Let's also be clear. The compounding mindset isn't just about money, it's about identity. When you adopt it, you start seeing yourself as a professional, not a gambler. Professionals think in terms of systems, probabilities, and long-term goals. Gamblers think in terms of luck, hunches, and one big win. The market rewards professionals and punishes gamblers. Your $100 is your training ground to become the kind of trader the market respects. In the end, the compounding mindset comes down to this: protect your capital, grow it steadily, and never rush the process. If you can master this with $100, you've built the mental foundation for turning that into $1 million. The numbers may change, but the mindset stays the same. And once you truly internalize this, you'll realize that the small account you're trading today is not a limitation. It's your greatest asset. In trading, patience is not simply the ability to wait. It is the ability to wait without destroying yourself in the process. Most traders think they are patient because they can hold a trade for an extra 5 minutes, or because they can sit through a small pullback without closing early. But ruthless patience is different. Ruthless patience is when you can stand in front of the market, watch the price dance just inches away from your dream entry, and still refuse to pull the trigger because the setup is not perfect. It is when you can see the market tempt you with movement, with volatility, with the illusion of opportunity, and still you do nothing, because you understand that not trading is also a trade. This mindset is rare because the market is designed to trigger impatience. From the moment you log in, every candlestick is an invitation. Every tick of price is a whisper telling you to act now, before it is too late. And if you are not ruthless with your patience, those whispers will become commands, and you will obey them. A trader with no patience will find trades in every movement. A trader with ruthless patience will find trades only when the odds are heavy in their favor. I remember reading about a trader in 2003 who had a rule. He would only take a maximum of 4 trades a month. Not because he was lazy, but because he understood that his system only produced 4 high-probability setups in that period. One month, he waited 23 days without placing a single trade. On day 24, his signal appeared. He entered, managed the trade perfectly, and made more in that one position than most impatient traders made all month combined. When interviewed, he said something that has stayed with me ever since. If the market will still be here tomorrow, why should I rush today? That line contains the essence of ruthless patience. The challenge is that patience feels like doing nothing, and doing nothing feels wrong when you are supposed to be working. Our brains are wired to associate productivity with activity. In an office, you type emails, attend meetings, make phone calls. In trading, the most productive thing you can do is sometimes to stare at the screen and take no action at all. This feels unnatural. Your hands itch to click. Your mind convinces you that any movement is better than no movement. And so you break. You enter too soon. You chase. You trade setups that are almost valid. You sabotage yourself. Ruthless patience is not passive. It is active waiting. It is a conscious, deliberate choice to protect your capital until the exact conditions you require are met. This requires mental strength, because the world rewards speed, instant results, and quick wins. Trading rewards the opposite. In the market, the tortoise doesn't just beat the hare blows its account, while the tortoise compounds slowly into freedom. There was a legendary commodity trader in the 1982nd who made hundreds of millions of dollars, but only traded about 15 days out of the year. People assumed he had some mystical edge. In reality, his edge was discipline. He knew his setups so well that he could identify exactly when they appeared. On every other day, he simply did nothing. He described the waiting as boring as watching paint dry, but when the trade came, it was like stepping in front of a moving train with perfect timing. That's ruthless patience. Waiting for the train you know is coming, rather than running after every shadow. To develop this mindset, you have to redefine what winning means. Winning is not making money every day. Winning is following your plan every day. If your plan says you only trade when certain criteria are met, and you see nothing that meets those criteria, then not trading is a victory. The impatient trader measures success in pips and dollars. The patient trader measures success in avoided losses and preserved mental capital. This is a subtle but powerful shift, because it removes the pressure to force trades. Think about the psychological damage impatience causes. Every premature entry that turns into a loss chips away at your confidence. Every unnecessary loss forces you to trade harder just to get back to where you started. And when you trade harder, you often trade worse. This is the spiral that destroys accounts. Ruthless patience stops the spiral before it begins. It is a shield that protects you from your own worst instincts. Of course, ruthless patience is not natural. It must be trained. It starts with clarity. If you do not have a clear, well-defined trading plan, you cannot be patient, because you won't know what you're waiting for. The mind hates uncertainty, and without a plan, it will convince you that any opportunity is good enough. When you know exactly what a perfect setup looks like, you can reject everything else with confidence. The clearer your rules, the easier it becomes to sit through the noise. In 1995, a futures trader named David H. was mentored by one of the best pit traders in Chicago. The mentor told him, "If you can stand on this floor all day and make 0 trades, you're ready to be a pro." At first, David thought this was a joke. Why would you be a trader and not trade? But after blowing his account twice, he understood. The mentor wasn't teaching him to avoid trading. He was teaching him to avoid bad trading. That year, David focused on waiting. He let dozens of potential trades pass. When his exact setup came, he executed with precision and size. By the end of the year, his win rate had improved by over 40%, not because his strategy changed, but because his patience did. The real test of ruthless patience is during drawdowns. When you're losing, the temptation to make it back quickly is overwhelming. The impatient trader doubles down, chases high-risk trades, and tries to force the market to give them what they lost. The patient trader accepts the drawdown, steps back, and waits for the same high-quality setups that got them profitable in the first place. This is counterintuitive, but it's why the patient trader survives and grows, while the impatient trader burns out. Patience is also the foundation for scaling. Imagine you do have that $100 account. If you are impatient, you might turn it into $200 quickly, but then back down to $50 just as fast. If you are patient, you might only grow it by 5% in the first month, but that 5% compounds. Over time, your small, steady gains build a stable base that can handle larger positions and bigger opportunities. Impatience chases explosions. Patience builds empires. One of the hardest parts of ruthless patience is dealing with what-if moments. You skip a trade because it didn't meet your rules, and it ends up being a winner. The impatient part of your brain screams, "See, you should have taken it." But here's the truth. A good process will sometimes let winners go. That's not a flaw. That's the price of long-term survival. Your job is not to catch every winner. Your job is to take only the trades that fit your edge. The market will always offer more opportunities. Missing one does not matter. Breaking your rules does. Patience also affects how you manage trades once you're in them. An impatient trader cuts winners short because they can't stand the thought of price reversing. A patient trader holds for the full target because they trust the probabilities of their system. This is why patience is not just about entry timing. It's about the entire trade lifecycle. From waiting for the setup, to letting the trade play out, to waiting again for the next setup, patience is the constant thread that keeps you consistent. It's worth noting that ruthless patience does not mean perfection. You will still take trades you shouldn't. You will still close early sometimes. But the goal is to make patience your default state. The more you practice it, the more natural it becomes. And over time, your account will reflect the change. Fewer trades, higher win rates, lower stress, more freedom. If there's one image that captures ruthless patience, it's the image of a lion in tall grass. The lion doesn't chase every antelope it sees. It waits. It watches. It studies the herd. And when the perfect target comes within range, it strikes with full force and precision. That's how you survive in the market. Not by running after every flicker of movement, but by conserving your energy until the odds are stacked in your favor. In the end, ruthless patience is not just a trading skill. It's a life skill. It teaches you to value quality over quantity, to trust your process, and to resist the urge to act for the sake of action. It's not glamorous. It's not exciting. But it's the reason some traders quietly compound their way to financial freedom while others burn out in a blaze of overtrading. If you can master this, your $100 account may not grow overnight, but given time and patience, it will grow beyond anything you can imagine. One of the hardest things for traders to learn is that the market doesn't care about your feelings, your hopes, or your desperate wish for a setup to work out. The market isn't your friend. It isn't your enemy. It's just a mirror that reflects back the truth about how disciplined or undisciplined you are. And the truth is, most traders lose because they tie their emotions too tightly to each individual trade. They treat every entry like it has to work, like it defines who they are as a trader. But the reality is, no single trade matters. What matters is the collective result of hundreds of trades over time, executed with consistency, not desperation. A trader who risks $100 and loses feels the sting. But an undisciplined trader feels something far more dangerous, the urge to get it back right now. That's how revenge trading is born. You start seeing setups that aren't there, you start forcing positions just to erase the pain, and the market punishes that every single time. You have to become emotionally detached from the outcome of each trade. You have to see a loss as just another step in the process, not as an attack on your identity or a threat to your future. I've seen traders with brilliant technical skills fail because they couldn't handle the emotional side. One in particular had a win rate over 60%, but his losses were twice as big as his wins because the moment a trade went against him, he panicked. He'd close early or flip the position entirely. He knew the chart was telling him to stay patient, but his emotions were screaming at him to act. He wasn't losing to the market, he was losing to his own reactions. That's why emotional detachment isn't optional. It's a survival skill. Think about it this way. Imagine you're flipping a coin, and you know that over 100 flips, the coin will land on heads about 50 times. You wouldn't panic if the first 3 flips were tails, because you understand probability. Trading works the same way. If your strategy is profitable over time, a single loss doesn't matter. In fact, 10 losses in a row don't matter, as long as you stay disciplined and keep following your edge. But if you let your emotions take over, you'll abandon that edge, and suddenly you're gambling instead of trading. In 2008, during the global financial crisis, a trader I knew personally made over $400,000 in just 6 months shorting bank stocks. His strategy was rock solid, and his timing was impeccable. But after a sudden reversal cost him $50,000 in a single day, he lost control. He started doubling down on bad trades, chasing moves that had already happened, trying to make back what he lost. Within 3 months, all his profits were gone. He later admitted to me that it wasn't the market that ruined him, it was the fact that he couldn't emotionally accept being wrong. He wanted the market to make him feel right again, and the market doesn't do that. The mindset you need is one of detachment. This means when you place a trade, you've already accepted that you could lose that money. You're not trading to be right. You're trading to execute your plan. If the plan says cut the loss, you cut it. If the plan says hold for the target, you hold. There's no room for, but maybe it will turn around thinking. That's emotional attachment speaking, and it's the enemy of consistency. The best traders I've met treat each trade like one grain of sand on a beach. They know one grain doesn't define the beach. One win or loss is irrelevant in the big picture. They don't celebrate wildly when they win, and they don't spiral into frustration when they lose. They focus on the process, not the outcome. That's the key. Process over outcome. Because the moment you start judging yourself based on a single result, you're handing your emotions the steering wheel. Detachment also means removing ego from the equation. Your trades are not you. Losing a trade doesn't mean you're a bad trader any more than winning one trade means you're a genius. Ego will push you to prove yourself to the market, but the market doesn't care about proving points. Ego will keep you in bad trades because you don't want to admit you're wrong, but the market rewards those who can admit they're wrong quickly and move on. A humble trader who cuts losses without hesitation will always outlast a proud trader who refuses to let go. One thing I tell new traders is this: your job is not to predict the market. Your job is to manage risk while letting your edge play out over time. That's it. Once you understand this, losing trades stop feeling personal. They just feel like business expenses. Imagine you owned a restaurant. If you had to throw away a few meals because an order got canceled, you wouldn't close the whole restaurant in frustration. You'd keep serving, knowing that the overall business will be profitable as long as you keep working the system. Trading is the same. Losses are the cost of doing business. In 1995, there was a small-time trader in Chicago who started with just $2,000. He traded options, and for the first year, he barely broke even. But what set him apart was how little he cared about each individual win or loss. His entire focus was on refining his process. He treated every trade like a test of his discipline, not his intelligence. By 2001, he had turned that $2,000 into $3 million. When asked how he did it, he said something I never forgot. I stopped needing the market to make me feel good. I just needed it to follow the math. That's emotional detachment in its purest form. You can train this mindset. The first step is to define your risk before every trade. If you decide you're willing to lose $50 on a trade, accept that loss before you even click buy or sell. That way, when the loss happens, it's not a shock, it's just the plan playing out. The second step is to focus on the next trade, not the last one. Win or lose, the last trade is dead. The only one that matters is the next one you take with discipline. And the third step is to keep your trading size small enough that losing doesn't cause emotional damage. If you're so nervous about a trade that you can't think clearly, you're risking too much. When you strip emotions out of trading, something magical happens. Your decisions become sharper. You stop chasing. You stop hesitating. You start following your rules with military precision. And the market starts rewarding that precision over time. Remember, the market is a brutal teacher, but it's also fair. If you consistently make disciplined, detached decisions, the long-term math will work in your favor. But if you let emotions take the wheel, the market will teach you the same painful lesson again and again until you either quit or learn. Emotional detachment doesn't mean you don't care about winning. It means you care more about discipline than about any single trade. It's the same mindset that professional poker players use. They know that sometimes they'll have a great hand and lose, and sometimes they'll have a weak hand and win. The important thing is that they play their strategy correctly every time. That's how you build a fortune from a small account. That's how you turn $100 into $1 million over time. And maybe that's the part most traders miss. This isn't about making the market bend to your will. It's about bending your own mind into a shape that can survive and thrive in the chaos. Once you no longer need the market to give you emotional comfort, you're free to trade purely on logic and probability. And that freedom is where the real money is made. Markets are living, breathing beasts. They change, they evolve, they punish those who think they've figured it out, and reward those who adapt without ego. The mindset of relentless adaptation is the mental edge that separates traders who survive from those who get wiped out. It's not about predicting the future perfectly. It's about adjusting when the present changes unexpectedly. The traders who stay in the game long enough to grow a small account into something life-changing understand that nothing is permanent in the market, not trends, not volatility, not patterns. In fact, the moment you become overconfident in a method, the market often shifts in a way that makes it less effective. And here's the dangerous trap. Your brain craves familiarity. It wants you to keep doing what feels comfortable. That comfort can kill you in trading. In 2008, when the global financial crisis hit, traders who had been relying on stable, long-term positions found themselves in chaos. The ones who adapted quickly, switching to short-term trading, risk control, and fast exits, didn't just survive, they thrived. They didn't waste time blaming the market. They didn't insist that it will go back to normal. They acknowledged that the game had changed and immediately changed with it. That's the mindset. Relentless adaptation means you never become married to a single strategy. You treat your approach like a tool, not an identity. If the tool is no longer useful, you put it down and pick up another. Many traders fail because they confuse consistency with stubbornness. Consistency is about applying good principles over time. Stubbornness is about refusing to change when conditions demand it. This mindset also requires killing your ego every single day. Ego makes you think you're smarter than the market. Ego tells you that your analysis can't be wrong. Ego is the whisper in your ear saying, hold the trade a little longer, it will turn around. Ego wants to be right more than it wants to make money. A trader with the mindset of relentless adaptation doesn't care about being right, only about being profitable. Look at nature. Species survive by adapting to their environment. When the environment changes faster than they can adapt, they go extinct. Trading is no different. Your strategies, risk tolerance, and even your trading schedule must evolve with market conditions. Some months, you may be trading aggressively because volatility is high and opportunities are abundant. Other months, you may be trading rarely, preserving capital because the setups aren't clear. You adjust without guilt, without frustration, without fear of missing out. One of the most powerful ways to develop this mindset is to treat every market condition as a teacher. When the market is trending, it's teaching you momentum discipline. When it's ranging, it's teaching you patience. When it's unpredictable, it's teaching you risk control. The worst traders complain about bad markets. The best traders study them, adapt, and extract lessons that make them sharper for the future. The key is to make adaptation a habit, not a reaction. If you only adapt when you're forced to, you're already behind. You should be testing new methods, new time frames, new risk models before you even need them. This way, when conditions change, you're not scrambling, you're simply switching gears. It's like a fighter who trains in multiple martial arts. No matter what opponent steps into the ring, they have an answer. In 1995, there was a trader named Marty Schwartz, famously known as Pitbull. He was already a legend in stock index futures trading. But when he realized the game was changing, he didn't cling to the old ways. He expanded his skill set, studied different markets, and even adjusted his risk profile. That ability to evolve kept him profitable, while others who refused to change lost everything. His success wasn't just skill, it was his refusal to stay static. Relentless adaptation also means embracing discomfort. Growth happens when you willingly step into uncertainty. If you only trade the setups that feel safe, you'll limit your potential. The market will always find ways to challenge your comfort zone. Sometimes it will change speed. Sometimes it will change direction. Sometimes it will just grind sideways for weeks. Your job is to move with it, not against it. And here's the part most traders miss. Adaptation isn't just about your technical strategy. It's about your mental state. Some days you may feel sharp and focused, ready to take on the market. Other days, you may be tired, distracted, or emotionally charged. The adaptive trader recognizes this and adjusts position size, frequency, or even decides not to trade at all. They adapt not just to the market, but to themselves. This mindset is the final piece of the puzzle, because without it, all the discipline, patience, and resilience you've built can be destroyed by one stubborn refusal to change. The market is not obligated to reward your favorite setup forever. It's not interested in how well your strategy worked last year. It doesn't care about your opinions. It rewards those who flow with it like water, flexible, but with force when needed. If you want to turn $100 into something much bigger, you must be ready to reinvent yourself as a trader again and again. Every level of growth demands a different version of you. The beginner who is learning to manage risk must adapt into the intermediate trader who masters emotional control. That trader must adapt again into the advanced trader who can read the market's mood almost instinctively. And even then, the adaptation never stops. There will be times when adaptation feels like starting over. That's normal. Every time you adjust, you're sharpening your survival skills. You're proving to yourself that you're not here for quick wins. You're here for the long game. The $100 trader who becomes a millionaire is not the one who finds a perfect system. It's the one who becomes a shapeshifter in the face of change, reinventing themselves as many times as necessary to stay ahead. So, burn this into your mind. The market owes you nothing. It doesn't reward hard work alone. It rewards adaptability. The trader who wins isn't the one who fought the market and won. It's the one who moved with it so skillfully that they never had to fight at all. If you've followed every chapter so far, you now have the 4 cornerstones: discipline, patience, resilience, and relentless adaptation. Master them, and your small account will no longer be limited by its size. It will be limited only by your imagination and your willingness to grow. And remember, the market is a mirror. If you're rigid, it will break you. If you're fluid, it will carry you forward. Be the trader who bends, shifts, and transforms as often as necessary. That's how you survive. That's how you thrive. That's how you turn $100 into $1 million. If you enjoyed this video and want more powerful trading psychology insights, make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next one. Now I want to hear from you. What's the biggest change you've had to make in your trading mindset, and how did it impact your results? Drop your answer in the comments. I read every single one.